Well, today I'm running the radius plates for the saw tables. I made this fixture basically to machine 3 at a time. In order to do that, I have to locate these 3 dowel pins here and 3 pins here. That locates the center of the radius on the plates, and then there's 3 over here is where the starting point is. So when I mount the radius plate in place, I basically put it up against these 2 dowel pins and then slide it forward until it stops. Once all 3 plates are in, then I pretty much just lock the plates down so they don't move around. I just swing these hold downs over. Make sure everything's secure. Put all 4 of those in place. Tighten them down, it's ready to machine. Now that they're all mounted in place, I just hit the start button. And it's going to go get the first tool, which is a ball nose end mill. And it puts the indents, which are for locating the roof pitches on the saw table. I use a spring-loaded ball plunger to locate on each one of those indents. Basically, this is what it looks like. And that is mounted into what I call the index block. This locates in the indents, and then I tighten the knob and holds it in place while you're cutting your angles. So there's basically 20 indents on each radius plate, so I'll be doing about 60 of them with this one end mill. As you notice, it goes up and over these clamps and the bolts. I have to program them to come up the right height to do that, otherwise they'll snap off the cutter. So the ball nose end mill rapids down about 100 thousandths above the part, then it feeds to the right depth. And if I don't tell it to come up above the 100 thousandths, it'll just go straight over like it's doing right now. So when you get to an obstruction, you program it. In this case, it's programmed 1.5 inches higher, so it goes up and over your clamps or whatever might be in the way. These radius plates are probably one of the hardest things I've programmed, because there's so many different angles involved to get all these locations. This is a small drawing I printed out, but this will give you an idea. Each indent has 2 dimensions, an X and a Y. And then you multiply that times 20. That's a lot of positions. Once these are done, it's going to go get a center drill or a countersink tool. It'll drill and countersink for the small screws that will hold it to the tabletop. These are the countersunk screws. There's 8 of them that hold this to the tabletop. It countersinks just deep enough to get the screw head to be flush with the radius plate. Since there's 8 per radius plate, there'll be 3 times that. That's 24 holes that this will be putting in. Takes about 5 or 6 minutes to do 3 of these plates. I had 60 of them made up, but I've got enough to do 300. The radius plates are cut out of a 1/8 inch thick 4x8 sheet of aluminum, and I put it on a tabletop and I feed it in 2 3/4 inches at a time and use a router to cut these metal plates out of it. The router is positioned into two cuts, the outside diameter, and then I move the plate forward, and I end up cutting these 1.5 inches wide using a standard 1/4 inch carbide router bit and a regular router used for like woodwork. Tried using a jigsaw, but the blade bends too much. It was hard to get the radius consistent. So right now I'm using a 1/4 inch drill bit, and that's what locates the radius plate to the tabletop. I drilled 2 1/4 inch holes in the tabletop and then drop this radius plate in. Once it's located on that 1/4 inch pin, then I just screw the 8 screws in to hold it tight. So this is the tabletop. I call this the radius top. There's a small one that goes next to it, but this one has the radius plate mounted on the bottom. You can see all these angles. They're not actually angles, they're roof pitches, and those are located on this plate through these small indents. And then these are the pins that I put in place that locate the radius plate to the table. And then I put these countersunk screws in, and that holds the plate to the top. Then it's done after that. Here's some of the radius plates I have finished. And this is the workstation I made for cutting the radius plates. Starts out with a full sheet of aluminum, and I slide it forward and cut this radius right here. The router is designed to, I unlock it and then move it forward 1.5 inches on these dowel pins. That's how I cut the 2 sizes of the radius. That gets me 2 cuts will get me 1 radius plate. I can get 30 to 31 out of a 4x8 sheet.